morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings on planet Earth. We meet again. So, the result of Prince Harry suing Mirror Group newspapers has just come out, and he has won on 15 story headlines that Justice Fancourt said he was hacked or there were skullduggerous practices, and he has been awarded £140,600 in damages. I don't know what the costs hearing is going to be about on that one, but he's already got the $48,000 to pay, I think, Daily Mail in another court case, so that leaves he's up $92,000 for getting legal fees. And of course, defendants, when they lose on certain points, will have to pay the costs of the other side, presumably at some point. But I don't think it's all that straightforward. For a start, he wanted £400,000 in costs, which in compensation, damages, which he has not received. He also didn't prove a lot, and I'm waiting to try and get hold of a copy of the full judgment, because I have seen glimpses on other websites where there are some pretty damning things in it from Mr. Fancourt. Interestingly enough, I've been watching Sky News. Now, before anybody gets confused, there is a big difference between Sky News UK and Sky News Australia. I quite like Sky News Australia. On the other hand, I do not like Sky News UK. They are some of the biggest bullshitters and really twist the news, and I stopped watching them a long time ago. But they are cheerleaders, or do seem to be from a PR point of view, and so I always like to look at things through the enemy's eyes, shall we say, or rather from Harry's point of view. And yes, I saw David Sherborne giving a great big long and illustrious speech, literally seconds after the judgment. Well, he didn't just write that up overnight. They must have had two versions ready, I suppose. David Sherborne, oh yes, well, he'll be paid no matter what the outcome of any court case of any of his clients. However, he's a celebrity lawyer, and he seemed quite victorious that he sees it as a big win, and I'm not entirely sure that it is. Now, Sky News UK, as I say, I do not like. During the Brexit referendum, I watched Sky News UK because at that point I just thought they were impartial. It became obvious they were not. I was on the camp of Remain. Sky News were, well, I don't know which side particularly, but they always put their own weird spin on things. And I see Laura Bundock is reporting from outside the court this morning. She could not hide her elation that Prince Harry had won. Initially, while she was being interviewed, there was some other guy there, some sort of media lawyer. And he was like, it's not about the money, it's about the win. I thought, easy for you to say, mate. Poor old Harry's going bald by the second with all the money that's going out. I bet he wished he'd never started any of this. I bet you anything, if he had his time over, he would not be doing this. Talk about stress. So it's all very well for Harry's cheerleaders to cheer this, and it's not about the money. The buck stops with Harry. Now there's old Laura, and I remember her from the days of not the Brexit referendum, because that had been over. It was the general election of 2019. And the then leader of the Liberal Democrats was Jo Swinson. And they said they were giving all the leaders of all the political parties a chance where they were showing their speech. Jeremy Corbyn, Boris Johnson, and there were others, I can't remember. SNP, I suppose, and they gave everybody coverage, and I wanted to hear what Jo Swinson had to say. So I watched Sky News all day long, boring my tits off with their repetitive bullshit, and they said, we're going to, any minute now, Jo Swinson, Laura Bundock is going to report on what Jo Swinson has to say, and we got right up to the second, and Graham and I were like, thank God for that, finally. And Sky News said, and I swear to God this happened, other people must remember this, we're going live to the bakery. I swear to God that's exactly what they said, and so they did. They went live to some random bakery to talk to a baker about how he bakes his bread. Now, whether you like the Liberal Democrats or not, or any political party, if they'd done it to Jeremy Corbyn, if they'd done it to Boris Johnson, I would have been just as livid. I wanted to hear what all of the sides had to say. And they viciously sliced Jo Swinson and her speech out of it. And I just thought, from that day, that's you and me done. So I thought I'd watch the bullshit news this morning to get their take on it. And then later on, I presume I'll be able to get hold of a copy of the full judgment of exactly what Mr. Fancourt said. At this moment in time, I haven't been able to find one, but I will before the live tonight. And then we can go through it, can't we? And your thoughts and opinions. Now, coming back to Laura, there she was, all elated, and she's on her phone while this media lawyer's talking about how it's not about the money, and he assumes Harry will donate every penny to charity. I mean, how the hell do these people think Harry is going to pay the bills if he donates everything to charity, for goodness sake? Well, Laura's little face started to drop while she was reading her mobile phone. Obviously, I don't know what site she was on. Let's take a stab. X. And her face dropped and dropped. And then, not too long later, she was talking about the court of public opinion, which I don't suppose the mood will have been improved by this latest revelation. That's something Mr. Sherborne needs to think about as well, because although he's just a knockdown, he's a barrister. That's his thing. He's a celebrity barrister. And as Meghan has discovered to her cost, really, that a lot of A-listers and, well, all of them, and studios don't want to work with her because they see her as negative, really negative. I think Mr. Sherborne might find to his cost that he's not as popular with the A-listers because he will now come with a stain. Even if he's won on 15 stories, 15 points, there's a stain. And let's not forget, as he gives his victorious speech about the invasion of people's privacy, he's representing a man who wrote a book extensively about the most private family on the entire planet, the royal family, who never complain, never explain, not even when they want to defend themselves. And there's Harry putting it all down in a book, all kinds of embarrassing and private things. So when I don't even think the word hypocrisy comes close. When Sherborne is there, I'm slaying a dragon and may become burned and all this bullshit. Well, I don't think that this court win is going to improve Harry's popularity in the court of public opinion. And as you all know, that's my main thing, is PR. And this court case interests me quite a lot. Because yes, the newspapers in the UK, and for that matter, any country, are powerful. And they can cause a lot of damage. In Harry's case, I just find Harry, personally, having watched him and his decision-making process over the last few years especially, more and more unlikable the more I see of him. The word emboldened was used several times on Sky UK. Emboldened indeed. At what point are Harry and Meghan going to learn that the more they kick off and the more they complain and the more they sue, the less likeable they become? They start to look vengeful, bitter. Well, I say start, they have for a while now, in my opinion, anyway. So it's quite interesting. The Crown. I watched season 6 of The Crown. I really enjoyed it. Factually, it's off the scale. You know, it is a work of fiction. It's Peter Morgan's imagination of imaginary conversations that he thinks may have taken place. And I liked that. I liked being taken into his world of fantasy. And fantasy it is, believe me. Because now they're covering chunks of the royal family era that I remember and I saw, talk about twisting it and putting it into a narrative. I do think that he's enormously sympathetic towards the royal family. but he's sort of got it wrong, you know, best will in the world. But it was really nicely made, and I particularly liked the guy who played Harry. In fact, every time, he didn't have that many lines, but every time he had a line, Graham and I literally burst out laughing. And I don't suppose Harry will have liked the way he was depicted. Having said that, Peter Morgan with the script and this guy portraying Harry really pretty much got across a lot of the points that Harry was making in Spare. That he's jealous, that he feels that he's the fuck up to make William look better, that William's always had it easier than him, etc, etc. But it was done in quite an unflattering light as far as Harry is, and of course the Nazi uniform was highlighted big time. And quite right too, because it was a big thing in the press at the time. But yeah, I enjoyed that. The live tonight will be at, all right, let me get this straight, 8 o'clock our time in Spain, which will be 7 o'clock UK time. And I think Graham's listed it, so there'll be a notification anyway of when it starts, and we'd love you to join us and we can talk lots and lots. These are just my initial thoughts on this court case. I've yet to read the full judgment, and believe me, I'll be reading the absolute full judgment on the whole thing. In the meantime, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And yes, I can read them. Now we are no longer in the Ring of Steel in central London. And look forward to seeing you later on, hopefully. Thank you very much for listening.